While the internet has provided us with so many wonderful advantages for education and for traditional classrooms, when actually asked to examine the advantages and disadvantages for my particular area of education, which is the elementary classroom, it turned out to be a very thought-provoking process. As I began to think about all the advantages and disadvantages, I was kind of surprised at the conclusion that I came to. So as I go through my list that I came up with and discuss it with you, it'll be interesting to see if you come to the same conclusion. As far as advantages of internet-based learning for the elementary age group, I would say that one big advantage is that the internet provides an avenue for learning for transient or ill students. I really believe that if you had an internet-based learning program where kids could solely use the internet to learn from home, it would be very helpful to transient, military type students, students who move around a lot, or ill students, missionary children perhaps. I also believe a second advantage is that the internet-based learning would allow students to self-pace their studies, which of course turns out to be very good for self-motivated students. I also believe another advantage is that internet-based learning creates and builds a technological interest. That interest leads to discovering their abilities with the different technological aspects of the internet, and over time builds a knowledge within our students for all things technological. For some of the disadvantages of internet-based learning for the elementary classroom, I would say there's no face-to-face teacher, instructor, or facilitator. Now, of course, there's going to be somebody that the students don't see who's possibly tracking their progress, tracking and assessing them. However, at a very young age like elementary, I believe it's a disadvantage not to have a face-to-face daily person in charge of facilitating that education. Also, internet-based learning does not allow for peer collaboration. So much of what I did as a 5th grade teacher for so many years was encouraging the students to work together, to discuss problems, to work problems, to share with one another, to help one another, to guide one another. Big part of the learning process. Also, with internet-based learning in the elementary classroom, or with the elementary age group, I should say, there's not going to be immediate feedback. You know, there would be days in a 5th grade math class where I would walk around and check students working of like a 3-digit multiplication problem as they're doing them, so that perhaps they're only on problem 1 or problem 2, and I'm catching an error and able to correct them and get them to start again before they get through 15 problems making the same mistake. With internet-based learning, a lot of times it's jumping in there, doing an assignment, and waiting for the feedback many days later. So I think immediate feedback is missing for that age group when you're talking about internet-based learning. Also, a big part of elementary school is field trips, and what those field trips lend to enhancing what you're teaching in the classroom. So a lot of that would be missing with internet-based learning, therefore that would be a disadvantage as well. Also, in today's world, public speaking seems to be something that is very often lacking. So even as young as 3rd grade, when I taught 3rd grade, I've even heard of 1st grade teachers doing it, but getting students already comfortable with talking in front of their peers. 1st graders even just getting up and talking about something simple like their pet. By 3rd grade, I was already assigning oral book reports for them to share with their classmates about what they read. And then each year, if they're expected to speak a little more in depth about something different for a little bit longer period of time, they're getting more and more comfortable speaking to their peers. So maybe that public speaking experience would be missing with internet-based learning. Also, I mentioned a delay in feedback about grades. I also think there would be a delay in teacher feedback. A child could do an assignment or ask a question about an assignment, and maybe could be, days before getting a response or an answer, an explanation to something that they're struggling with. So, of course, as you can see, I came up with more disadvantages than advantages if you're talking about internet-based learning, which I'm assuming was a type of, going to school via the internet rather than the traditional classroom. However, I do believe that the internet and the computer age provides so many advantages within the traditional classroom to enhance and enrich our studies. Thank you.